Just kidding. How's everybody doing? Welcome to Thursday's edition of Macro Talk 2. Well, it's the only edition, isn't it? We don't have another Macro Talk 2. It's the only one. Yeah, I wasn't really going to play Sweet Thang. I know how upset you get when I do that. So today is part 2 of the holiday gift list guide thing. We had a serious one on Tuesday. I was talking about really useful stuff, important stuff to have in your bag, and pointing out all kinds of cool stuff that you could ask for or give to other macro photographers. But today, we're going to talk about stuff that you probably won't be able to find, you certainly won't be able to afford, but yeah, if you could dream, this would be the list you would go to. It's a bunch of stuff that I think a lot of macro photographers would just love to have, or love to experience in some cases. We're going to go over all that in just a little bit, but first, a couple of things. Saturday, 10 o'clock in the morning, per Zoom, and that is a thing that you already knew about, but what you don't know is that there is a very real possibility that I will be giving a first look report on the Shibuya, that's the name of them, the Shibuya objectives. These are the new apochromatic M-Plan APO HLB Shibuya infinity corrected microscope objectives that everybody has been asking me to review, and I'm going to, because I heard from Shibuya. They have sent me the 5 and 10 times objectives, which should be here any day, and on their arrival I will begin the process of evaluating them. And if I get them in time, if they arrive tomorrow for example, then yeah, I'll be able to give an initial report to the Patreon folks and let you know whether or not this is something you want to order for Christmas. I'm excited about this. I think that this is a big deal for the macro community, and I cannot wait to see what kind of optics they are. So, a little bit about Shibuya, just for those of you who don't know anything about them like I didn't 2 weeks ago. Shibuya is a Japanese company. Their website is Shibuya, that's H-S-H-I. You know what? I wrote it down. I took a picture of it, and I'm going to share that with you. That will be a lot easier than me trying to spell it out. I have a feeling that maybe, possibly, one of our bouncers will take this and put it in chat, possibly. And if they do, then you can just copy it down. You need to go to their website, because when I looked at their website, it kind of felt a little bit like looking at Thor Labs without the prices, without the high prices, that is. They got all kinds of stuff, all kind of optical components, laser stuff, stuff that we wouldn't need to use, and lots of stuff that we would. So it's worth looking at, especially their microscope section. But you'll be hearing a lot more about this company in coming weeks. But for now, that is a little bit of good news, I think, for all concerned, is that we're going to very potentially have an opportunity to exercise choice over which high-quality objectives we use in macro photography, because right now we don't. There's really only one, and this may change that. This week I released Afterstack number 11, where I talked about the custom brush in Photoshop, how to make one, how to use one, all that type of stuff. It was very interesting. Lots of great feedback from the audience who were in attendance, and we got a lot of useful information on how other people use the brush. So if you ever use the brush to, for example, put hair on a picture of me or on an insect, there you go. That's a video you'll want to watch. Another video that came out that you want to watch is Lester Lefkowitz number 2, the second interview with the great man, where we talked about volume 2 of his new book, The Guide to Close-Up and Macro Photography. Watch it, you'll enjoy it. It's long, so yeah, take a snack with you. You'll be there a while. And what else? I think that's about it. What do I have coming up? Well, of course, the Shibuya review is going to bump everything else, because that's something that I want to get out to you as soon as possible. I'm talking with the company about the best way to order these lenses if anybody wants to, so that you can maybe get them for Christmas. They're not on the list today, but they will be in the future, I hope. So yeah, just stay tuned for all of that. Let me see, what else did I have for you? That's it. We can get straight to the gift guide. I don't think there was any unfinished business from Tuesday. Oh, there might have been. You know what? The chat disappeared before I had a chance to read it, because I got busy doing something else. So maybe there were some. If there are questions I didn't answer on Tuesday that you have, please let me know. I'm going to very quickly say hi to some people, because I failed to do that the other day, and that was very rude of me. But before I can do that, I've got to close this window. There we go. Let me see. Alistair's here. Thank you, Alistair. Appreciate your help. And gosh, we have all kinds of folks here. Zeno's here. Paul Mashak's here. Thank you, Paul, for your donation of a prize for the competition this November, December. Russ is here. Greetings. And Russ Richards agrees that the Lester interview is definitely not one to miss. Thank you very much, Russ. And William is here. Greetings, William. And you guys are setting up a field trip. Excellent. May I come? Nick's here. Wonder if it was someone at Shibuya that bought Lester's books. That's right. He got a new Japanese customer. That's very possible. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Anyway, don't forget Lester's going to be judging your competition in January. When we judge the November-December competition together. I mentioned on Tuesday that I was trying to put together a judging panel and had invited some folks to join the fun, but it was a bit too late to get folks to participate. So I think it is probably going to be Lester and I, though I may ask my artist friend Lonnie Stewart to jump in and give an opinion, or break ties or something like that, but we'll see. For the time being, it's going to be two competitions. One competition for anybody who's ever placed in the top 10, and one competition for anybody who hasn't. So I'm thinking that'll be about half and half, and there'll be prizes on both sides. So if you were thinking, oh, I'm not gonna do that because there's too many good photographers in that group, well, there are, and but you will be in a group with other folks who haven't yet won a top 10 place. So there you go. That's all good. I had a map of Borneo in front of my face, so I couldn't see whether or not you could see me. You'll know why in just a minute. So what we're going to talk about are about, I think, 8 or 9 things that I put on the list, and they're all interesting, I think, and they're all fairly unattainable. Some of them are. I mean, just takes money. Others are really hard to work out, but we'll talk about them, and you can decide whether or not they would be on your list. If you have a suggestion for something that should be on the dream list for macro photography gift giving, put it in the chat, please, and I will certainly mention it if it rises to the occasion. I was also going to say hi to Susan and David, who is here. Just Me's here, and this is good to see the usual crowd on a Thursday. And I saw some other names at the beginning. Who was it? No, it was just David. Kept repeating himself and showing thumbs on the chat, which is fine. Is it snowy up there in Maine? It must be by now. It's snowy down here in Illinois. So, yeah, I'm thinking a nice, wet, windy South Wales would be nice, Russ. Harold's here. So the Olsen twins are both here, because I saw Mike a little earlier on. Mike, greetings. And Susan is here from Northern Alabama. Ingolf and Graham were here first and already having a chat. Wonderful. Okay. I met somebody from Germany yesterday, Ingolf, who knows you, or knows of you. They're from the Harz Mountains as well. I can't remember their name, but I'll find it and I'll let you know. It was a weird meeting to bump into somebody like that, but yeah, small world. Let's begin. Let's just jump in, and I've actually got some pictures to show you as we go through this. Let me see if any of them are... Yeah, we'll start out by talking about one that's kind of interesting. I have heard rumours that Cognisys, the StackShot company, would work with customers to design custom setups around their specific needs. Yet you don't hear about that, or you don't read about that on their website. In fact, I've never actually formally read anything from Cognisys about it. So I called them this morning and had a chat with Paul over there, who knows the company rather well, because I think he owns it, or part of it, something like that. But very, very helpful man. And he was explaining to me that they frequently work with customers to design systems around the client's needs, but it's mostly based on putting together pieces of equipment that they already have, and that makes perfectly good sense. Let me show you a few examples of what I'm talking about. You're familiar, I'm sure, with almost all of these. This is the standard StackShot, for example, that would be part of, I would imagine, most Cognisys setups. But that's not all they have. They have other pieces of equipment that are coming out and being developed all the time. And they will make a special package for you for your particular needs based on the bits that they've got, which is great. This is my rail, by the way. I use the extended rail, which is quite a bit longer, 300 millimeters in length, 200 millimeters of travel. So you might want to add this to a rotation platform or something. You've all seen my insect rig. I have nightmares about this, by the way. I got trapped in the woods with it. I didn't make a video of it because I got tangled up in some branches, and because I'd made a harness to wear this in the woods. Got some very funny looks. But yeah, we're going to keep trying. I swear we'll get it working. So this is a set of pieces and parts that they put together for this particular thing, which is a former product. They don't make it anymore. But they've replaced that with other type of high-speed triggering devices like their Sabre 2. So if you got in touch with these folks and said, look, this is what I need to do, this is what I want to photograph, what would you recommend? Then they will help you put together a package. So I'm suggesting that might be a very interesting gift to give the macro photographer who's already got everything, would be their own custom Cognisys setup. Now, I want to be completely clear about this, that Cognisys does not engineer new equipment on a custom basis. So you couldn't go in and talk to them and get them to tool up to make a completely unique thing that had parts and pieces that they don't already use. They'll help you put together a system that will work for your needs with the many, many different pieces of equipment that they currently have, and all the interfaces and everything else. So that would be a great present for somebody who's like got it all, but is looking for some extended functionality. All right, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is let's talk about this, because this is a weird one. Have you ever heard of the Nikon Multiphot? Well, you have now. This is something that Nikon used to sell. I think that they stopped selling it about 500 years ago. But it is a device that is designed for large format macro photography, where basically you have a camera system and bellows and a stage and substage lighting, all of which is adjustable. And this is a very different way of... it's not the only thing of its type that you're going to see today. but it is a very unique way to take pictures. I think that a couple of you have this device. Who Joseph has it, I believe. I'm fairly sure. But you won't see these things very often, and I think this gift would be more a rarity and a conversation piece than maybe a go-to photography platform. They use some very special lenses. In fact, one of the lenses that Lester Lefkowitz talked about in his interview this week was this lens, the lens that's used on this multi-FOT device. And those lenses are very nice, very expensive, fully corrected apochromatic objective type lenses, and they were designed for this. They're probably best described as bellows lenses, but Lester was talking about Zeiss's version of those lenses, but Nikon also had a set. So that would be a very unique present, and if you don't have any resources to buy somebody a present like that, just buy them a copy of the brochure, because it's absolutely fascinating reading. This was shamelessly ripped off from photomacrography.net, where somebody had posted this some years ago. And it's a lovely brochure, and you can see all the bits and pieces and parts and everything, how it all goes together. Very, very interesting stuff. I would urge you to get this. You can get it from Nikon's website. Nikon U, I think, has it as well. And yeah, look at it and decide if you want to find one. If you find one, buy it. If you find two, call me and then buy it. And because I think I'd like to one day get one of these. Anyway, that's gift number 2 from Nikon. If you're wondering why Nikon seems to be getting more attention than other companies during this particular discussion, it's not because of my favoritism for Nikon, though that is a thing. I do love the platform. It's just back in the day, this was the company that was doing most of the advanced photographic macro stuff. Not the only one by any means, but a lot of the really innovative breakthroughs were coming from Nikon. So you can expect to hear their name coming up quite a bit. Let's see what I have next on the list. Next on the list is a trip, one of 2 trips. Actually, yeah, well, we'll say 1 or 2 trips. This one is to, let's do this one first. It's to Chile. Not Chile as in Chile here in Illinois, where it's very, very chilly. We're talking about Chile down in South America, where it's probably also chilly and they don't have any rain. And there's one particular part of Chile that is a go-to destination for people who've kind of been everywhere else and want to go to the ultimate macro spot. And it's the Atacama Desert. Have you ever heard of it? Probably not. You know what's interesting about this as a macro photography spot? And I'm not kidding about that. It really is. Macro photographers go here to freeze their sensors off, and also to take pictures, because there's no life there. It's the most arid place on Earth. It's 2 orders of magnitude drier than the driest spot in North America, which hasn't had rain in 3 million years. So I think it's never had rain. I don't think a molecule of water has ever fallen on parts of this place. I read one article where it was apparently a hyper-arid zone for 30 million years. That is a fairly long time. So when you have land that's that arid, nothing grows on it. So there's basically no life there. So why would a macro photographer want to go there? Well, apparently it's because when life does accidentally wander into the desert, it's very rare stuff, and it makes for some really cool pictures, like fuzzy-looking bees like this, that only exist probably for a very short period of time in the Atacama Desert. So they have whole trips that cost. Well, I've actually wrote down some notes. Let me tell you, so I don't tell you a lie about the price. Blew me away. It's got hyper-resistant microflora. Okay, well, does that make sense? Yeah, of course it does. They have to be hyper-resistant. They're growing in the coldest, driest place on Earth. So you photograph plants that you otherwise wouldn't see, but also these gorgeous insects. There's another one actually. Yeah, this is I think one of the same species. It's Centris tamarugalis or something like that. Anyway, it's cute and it's furry and it's rare and it's very thirsty by the time you get it. But this place has had no rain for it's 200 million years, and it's been hyper-arid for 3 million years. How do they know that? It could have rained briefly and or snowed at some point. I guess they've had a weather station there for 200 million years. Who knows? But anyway, Atacama Desert in Chile. And the landscapes, admittedly, are stunning. And, you know what? I'm not even sharing the dang screen, am I? Let's get back to the woolly bees. This is one of the woolly bees. Pretty thing. Yeah. As I say, probably doesn't live very long. Centris tamarugalis. The other one that I was showing was this one, which I think might be the same thing. No, this one's from Argentina, which is just across the mountains, but it also lives up there on the plain when it finds its way there. Let me show you the picture that I didn't show you, foolishly. There it is. That is the stunning plain, the Atacama Desert, driest place on Earth. Yeah, so that is, believe it or not, a very exclusive $8,000 to $15,000 it costs to do a trip with guides, accommodations and permits to get into the restricted areas. Now, tell me why they would restrict access to a place where you'll probably die within 15 minutes if you go there. Doesn't seem to make much sense, but it does cost $8,000 to $15,000. The landscape there, the views are just stunning. I've never been there, but I've seen lots of pictures of it. This was from National Geographic. But yeah, you get to go down there. They have some world-class macro photographers that lead trips down there. And yeah, they also have add-ons. If Julie, if you're thinking about going on this particular junket, take your astro scope, because they often have these trips where they do macro and astro at the same time, because they've got some of the clearest skies on Earth as well, which shouldn't surprise you, seeing as they're the driest skies on Earth. Though honestly, these do look like clouds, and that would make you think that occasionally a molecule would fall out of them, but apparently not. So yeah, it's a very specialized, very rare trip, and it's a stunning place. And you could say, what's the best macro trip you ever went on besides going to Alan's Picnic? And you could say, I went to the Atacama Desert and have a t-shirt made. Okay, there's another trip I've got I want to talk about, but we'll get to that one in a minute. I'm going to talk about another piece of equipment that you have heard me talk about before, and you will hear me talk about again. It is not this, which is a printing Nikkor. This is the 95mm, and a wonderful, wonderful lens, a great gift. This thing is made to be used with an APS-C size sensor, but it is incredibly sharp. It's beautifully made, apochromatic, handmade, used in the film industry for making prints of films, hence the name. They made several of them. The 95mm was one of the smallest. There was a 75mm. I've never seen it though. Then there's the 105mm, which is a good bit bigger, and this is best used at 1:1. The 95 can be used at 2:1 or 1:2. They're all f2.8 lenses, and they're not made anymore. Though there is a company that's Nikon owned that makes a newer version of them, the Rayfact company, which is the same optical components. Apparently, just uses different coatings and a more modern barrel design. But that's not what I'm talking about either. It's the fourth lens in the series, and this is the one that is highly, highly desirable by photographers because of its range from 4:1 up to 1:4. And this is an unusual version of that lens. It is this is the printing Nikkor f150. Now, the most of the lenses that you'll see don't look like this. This has actually had a focusing helicoid attached to it, and it's set up to use on a Mamiya camera, I believe. But the guts of it are the same printing Nikkor. It's a float lens, you see. And a float lens, what makes it, this is the more typical appearance of it, but even this is not typical. I borrowed this from Photopia, an equipment gallery and store out in California, I believe. This is more typically what the lens would look like, though most of the ones you'll see actually are more of a plain barrel than this. I couldn't find my pictures of it. I don't have one of these either, but this is a lovely lens. And what makes a float lens is that at each magnification that you use the lens, the way you set it up with your extension tubes and what have you, you can actually adjust the aberration correction within the lens for your specific use case. So you don't have to use the f2.8 aberration correction. You can adjust it as you lengthen the lens and increase the magnification. So it basically remains perfectly apochromatic at all magnifications. It's not an easy lens to use. It's not a beginner's lens, and it's a very rare lens, and that's one of the reasons it's so expensive. I went on the on eBay this morning, and I looked and found two of them, the two I just showed you, and this one cost $6,000, and it looks pretty beat up. It's not, of course, but that cost $6,000, and the other one was $4,400. No, I don't know where the other one went to. The other 150 was, it was this one. Hang on, this was the one that was $4,400, and they were the only two that I could find. So oftentimes, if you're going to buy one of these, you have to get it through a special dealer who handles these kind of rare optics, and I know several people who have them and swear by them, and almost everybody I know who's got one stops using any other lens on their system. We're going to talk about another lens in just a few minutes, but before we get to that one, there's another trip I think we'll talk about. This is one that I would really, really want to go on. If I could go on a macro trip. Oh, hang on. Let me do that again. If I could go on a macro trip, this is the one that I would go on. A fully guided, all the bells and whistles trip to Borneo. Now, Borneo's right. Well, Borneo's the island, but it's up here that you'd want to go. That's where the really cool life forms are. And what makes a trip to Borneo so incredibly desirable for a macro photographer is the unbelievable variety of insects and spiders, fungi, orchids. Things that don't exist anywhere else on the planet have developed here in the middle of Indonesia. All of these islands are amazing. There are more things there to kill you. It's a very dangerous and exciting and colourful place to be. But as a macro destination, they have really tuned up their country to welcome macro photographers, because a lot of people want to go there, but it is not cheap. A lot of local naturalists and biologists, macro photographers, choose to live and work here so that they can lead tours. I wonder why anybody would want to live or work there, frankly. But yeah, I looked at this and I thought, oh gosh, they've taken a picture and they've left all this garbage on the in the pool there. Of course, we're on the top of a mountain, and that's a village or something down there. It's not a beer can. So look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? Can you imagine the stuff they have to photograph there? Yeah, there are several very remote areas that require special permission and passes. You need to have a professional guide with you. You know, you can't get into these places. And the high-end tours usually put you in some kind of a luxury accommodation on stilts out in the middle of the sea, that type of thing. And it's all very exclusive, very private, very once in a lifetime kind of visit. And yeah, and you can find Wallace's flying frogs. That would be a challenge to photograph. And rhinoceros beetles and the craziest looking whatchamacallits, mantids that you'll see anywhere on the planet. Now, if you were to go for 10 days or 14 days, something like that, you could probably expect to drop, I don't know, $10,000 to $20,000 on such a trip. But you would also probably come home with pictures of things that you'll never see again. Yeah, I really want to do this. This is the top of my list for trips. I think if I saw one of these things right before I died of fright and got the picture, this is from the MK Diffuser website. Yeah, I would be satisfied. I think that would be the culmination of my photography career, to get a picture of one of these beasts. I do hope they're only a few inches tall. If these things turn out to be 4.5 feet tall, then I'm not going, and you'll just have to tell me how it was. But if that doesn't look like a lizard getting ready to, yeah, it's just incredible. Wouldn't you like to go see that? I definitely would. Let me show you where it is in the world. In case you're not up on Indonesian geography, I thought I'd show you a slightly bigger map just so that you can see. Well, that's not a bigger map, is it? It's a teeny tiny map. It looked big on the... It's not going to help much, is it? This is where we're looking at right here. This is New Guinea and Indonesia, Vietnam, and that's Russia, that's Africa, that's America, and that's South America. Chile's down there, by the way, if you were wondering. So yeah, that's the place to go. If you decide to go, it's $10,000 to $20,000 per person. You can probably get a discount if you take me with you, but possibly not. But yeah, if you have a spare ticket, I'll carry your bags. So let me see, what do we have coming up next? This time I'll try to remember to put the other screen back on. I'm going to talk now about another piece of equipment that is incredibly rare, but it's showing up again in some strange places. You know that I love Leica. My microscope, my stereoscope is a Leica. It's an MZ6, and that is a very nice but very common old used stereoscope. It's optically fantastic, but there is something considerably more fantastic and very rare. You know the Microbe Hunter. Many of you follow the Microbe Hunter. Super nice guy that does a lot of very good work over on his YouTube channel. I actually watched one of his videos yesterday and got in touch with him, and I'm going to try to twist his arm into coming on and chatting with me on the channel here. But he actually obtained one of these devices I'm getting ready to talk to you about and made it the central part of his Frankenstein microscope, he calls it, because it's put together from all the best bits and parts. But the core of it all is this amazing Leica macroscope. Never heard of it? It's the Z6 APO, or the Z6 APO, and it is a work of art. I'm going to show you some pictures. This is something that you probably won't see very often, if ever. And it doesn't look like much here, but bear with me, it gets better. This is the business end of it. This is the, oh no, here I'm doing it again, aren't I? But fortunately, I looked up and saw my face and knew I wasn't doing it right. This is the business end. This is the actual lens, actually the lens assembly. And it is a very special lens. It's a fully corrected, they call it the Rolls-Royce of macro systems. Yeah, I'm not sure who that is that calls it that, but it's incredibly clear and it's very versatile. It's a close-up imaging system. It's not really a microscope, but it gives you edge-to-edge sharpness and no distortion in a very, very compact package. But why it's expensive is not so much this lens. You can actually buy one of these. They don't make them anymore. They make a new version of this, and they make actually a Z16. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The 6 in the Z6 means 6 times magnification in this piece of the assembly. And the 16 is more powerful, giving you up to 16 to 1. But like I say, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is the basic stripped-down version of the Z6. It is the apochromatic microscope part, or as they call it, a macroscope, with one of their lovely Leica cameras on top. And that's about it. But I'm going to show you what happens when you build this thing out into a full photographic system. It is very, very much a precision engineered, top shelf, as good as it gets microscope system. And when it's all the way built out with eyepieces, automated equipment for rails and motion devices at the bottom, lighting, you end up with something like this, which is, this is the newer version. This is the new Z6, not the exact same thing I'm talking about, but it's set up the same way. This is their newest macroscope. And I don't think they even make this one anymore. But it is, it's quite stunning. Let me tell you a few of the things that I found out about it. It is the lens, the older one that I showed you first. You can pick up one of those for a couple of $1,000s. In fact, come to think of it, I found some stuff on eBay that I thought I'd show you. So this was this morning. The macroscope, the Z6 like this with the camera on it, the basic thing, you can get it for $3,500. Here's one a little bit cheaper, and this one's got an objective on the end. You need an objective to get the full range of magnifications. I'll talk about that in a second. But see, all of the pieces, all of the parts, even just a plan apochromatic lens to go on the end of it, $2,500. So it very quickly adds up. You can actually find some that are similar. This is the Z16 set up with Leica microscope, and that's probably a very good price for that, $10,000. So it's an expensive and unusual piece of gear. Let me show you a couple more pictures of the stuff. This is from Leica's website. But these are the eyepieces. When you start putting all the pieces together, like the eyepieces and the tube lens part and the objective part, the magnification builds up pretty quickly. And the basic Z6 from years ago gives you a range of magnifications from, I believe it's 7.5 up to 45x. And you can get up to 900x with the eyepieces. So pretty impressive. It's not really a stereoscope. Well, it's not a stereoscope. It's more like a cross between a microscope and a stacking platform that we would use on a rig, and all built in. And you can actually buy them with motorized fine focus and motorized coarse focus, so that you can focus stack with them, all built in to the same system. But let me see, the resolution is 351 line pairs per millimeter. That is pretty amazing. And the visual resolution is as high as 702 line pairs. This is from their website. The numeric aperture is 0.117, 0.234 visually. I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that, unless it means including the eyepiece, though I'm not sure how that changes the numeric aperture. Anyway, the working distance on these things is anywhere between 97 and 187 millimeters. That's 7 inches or something. That's a lot of working distance. So it would be a great tool to add custom lighting for. And you can add as much stuff as you can think of. The website, the Leica website, shows a lot of the stuff that you can add to it, like the 5x long working distance objective, plan, apochromatic goes on the end. This is a $2,000-$3,000 piece of goodies, and this is the I think this is the newer one. Yeah, this is the new Z6. That's the meat of it, the main tube. And what else did I get a picture of? I think one more of the... oh yeah, I found one that... I found the one I want. This is the one I want. If anybody's just looking around for a good Christmas present, this is the Z6 with fluoroscopy. This is fully capable for use as a fluoroscopic microscope, as well as a bright field scope, as well as a photography platform. Just amazing. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So rare. You hardly ever hear them talked about. But this is the thing that Microbe Hunter built his platform from. It's built like a brick. It's built like a very sturdy building. It has all kinds of accessories, like I mentioned. It's beautiful to look at. And you know what they're saying is the paperwork that Leica puts out. They say quality does not cost as much as lack of quality. You would be hard pressed to come up with a better set of words to use to explain why this thing costs what it does. Quality is less costly than lack of quality. I love that saying. And isn't that a beautiful thing? Did you know it existed? I bet that Joseph probably has 3 of these at home. I'm going to have to look at the chat now and see if he does. There's one other thing I wanted to tell you about, to include on this list. 2 other things, actually. One of them involves scanning electron microscopy, and I'll talk about this in much more detail when our project gets underway next year. But do you know that there are some organizations that will let you do a residency in scanning electron microscopy, where you pay them money and they put you in a training program for amateurs, for microscopy enthusiasts, but they'll teach you how to do the whole thing, from preparation of specimens to using the scope. And that would be an incredible experience. It's a week-long project that let me see if they tell me who puts it on, but it's really the ultimate. It costs relatively little. It's at $10,000 for the week. I mean, it's half what it costs to go to Borneo and stay in a house on stilts. But the access is extremely rare. They're very limited posts that put them on. I can't remember. I strangely didn't write it down, but it's a North American university that does this. And it's really a once in a lifetime thing. You may, of course, you may never again have your hands on a scanning electron microscope, but that's not what the point of it. The point of it is to learn hands-on how to use one of these amazing pieces of equipment. And if maybe you end up in an auction buying your own scanning electron microscope, like apparently several hundred people have done over the years, because there's a Facebook group for people who bought their own scanning electron microscopes to set up in their houses. Yeah, imagine if you did that. You would actually know how to use the thing you just bought. So that is one of the things. There is one other gift that I haven't mentioned, but it's not really a gift, but it's an idea. And that is, if you wanted a professional who understands most of what you need to know to build a very premium custom built studio and a macro setup, or a multiple macro setup depending on what you were trying to accomplish, there is an organization that will come to you, interview you, examine your workspace, take measurements, talk about what you're trying to accomplish, then design a completely bespoke system that will cover all of your needs. It will include every piece of equipment you need, that will be sourced, put together, tested, then transported to your location and installed. After that, you would be trained in how to use every piece of equipment that you had bought. And you would get all of this without ever having to lift a finger. It would be for the person, somebody like somebody who owns Microsoft. Who is that? I forget his name. Anyway, he's a very famous person. He would be somebody who might be too busy to set up his macro rig. Most of us enjoy setting up rigs, but some people want the rig but don't want the hassle. Maybe there are 3 people like that on Earth. But if you're one of them, I have an inside track to the company that does this, because it's my company. So that would be the ultimate Christmas gift. If you happen to be the owner of a mega international company, always wanted to do macro photography but don't have time, call me. I'll even do the macro photography for you, so you don't even have to touch the stuff. I'll just build it in your house, take the pictures, and cash the check. Okay, so the ultimate Christmas present is that. So let me see who's here, see if there's any questions, and see what you guys wanted to add to the ultimate system, or to the ultimate Christmas list, I should say. Now I've got to do that thing where I X out of all of the millions of pictures that I've opened. I really appreciate the permission to use some of these pictures today. There were quite a few of them, and I haven't been to Borneo, so I couldn't use any of my own Borneo pictures. And yeah, wouldn't that be great though, to have a personal macro universe set up in your own room with a vibration system and lighting and flooring designed for macro photography. You could just set up the most amazing thing, and it could have all the fancy lenses and everything, because you would be rich, you see, and you would be able to spend that kind of money on a platform like that. Okay, finally got back to the beginning. So there's a question. Can you explain how they mechanically adjust the lens correction for aberration? Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, absolutely not. I can't explain the optics of it, but what it is the internal elements, some of the aspherical elements, or the special shaped elements that are used to converge the different frequencies of light at the same spot so you don't get fringing. Well, as the lens changes magnification, as you move the distance between the lens and the sensor, those corrections are no longer accurate because the lights had a different path to get into the lens. But by moving these specific elements, and I don't know which ones they are, but it involves, I think, moving the pupils further together, further apart or closer together. But when those internal elements are moved, it corrects that correction, so it moves the correction backwards or forwards, and it's just like having a lens that you rebuild for whatever purpose you're using it for. So I will find out before the next time specifically which elements. These lenses have like 16 elements in them, and a group of them move independently. They don't have a focus mechanism, so there's no moving elements there, but the aberration correction, they do move, just like with the helicoid that does it. There may even be, I don't know this for a fact, but it may be that some of the elements actually move in another axis other than just in the x-axis. I'll have to check. I'll get back to you on that one, but it's a good question. Walter's here. Bud, welcome. Glad you made it. And Alistair's here. Thank you again, Alistair and Amy and Bud, for all you do. So I'm going to see if there are any questions. Have I tried the AK diffuser yet? Yes, I have. It should have been on Tuesday's list, but I hadn't got to work with it then. But I had it on the camera yesterday and again this morning, and I don't have pictures to share with you yet. It's interesting. It's a heavy. Well, I guess it's got a big flash on it, but it's a heavier system than I'm used to. You know that I'm used to a sheet of Mylar. This is heavier than a sheet of Mylar, but it does give a lovely uniform light. Now, you might not know this because I have mentioned it only once, but I'm doing a review of this AK diffuser, and as part of that review, and it'll be after the holidays, I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Pena, the guy that invented it and sells it. I talked to him, and he's agreed to come on the program and talk about what he does and how he's designed this and what's coming up next, that type of thing. So that will be fun. And by the time I have him on, I will have completed my review and got all that ready to go. So yeah, I'll give you more information as soon as I have it. And Russ wants you to hit the button for liking, the liking button. That would be great if you would. I'm not sure if it makes any difference. I think it might just be to make me feel better, but please do. And let me see. Great minds and all that, says Russ. What would you recommend to lubricate a stiff Nisi? Okay, well, I would recommend using this. Nisi, the Nisi focus rail, of course, is what Emily's talking about. It's a rail that I reviewed at some length some years ago. It's a lovely manual rail. It's very handy, and it's got a lovely fine control. But it does get a bit sticky, and there are two things you have to do, Emily. Make sure that the grub screws there are two grub screws that you can loosen, one underneath and one in the end, that take like a 2.5mm wrench. Make sure that they are snug but not too tight. That will loosen and tighten the rail. And then I use this Super Lube multi-purpose synthetic grease. It's a fairly light grease, but it's great for rails. I actually use it to lubricate most of my lead screws on rails. That's what I would recommend. If anybody has another recommendation for a different kind of grease, there are many of them, but I like this synthetic one. It seems to stay on forever and does a great job. Yeah, so hopefully, Emily, that'll help. And Zeno was saying he thought the corrections were done through multiple coatings on the lens elements. Well, the corrections are done through the shape of the lens elements, as well as the coatings on the lens elements and the design of them in general. But what makes the float lens a float lens, and what makes it unique, is that when you change their position relative to one another, it changes the degree of correction very, very specifically. It's incredibly beautiful how a correction which is already very difficult. If you've ever seen how a Mitutoyo objective is set up, there are multiple additional elements inside that lens just to bring those frequencies together so that there's no fringing. Imagine now having the same thing that you could adjust. It's just amazing, and it explains the cost of the thing. All right, Ralph Richter says, thanks for the gift guides. Oh, fantastic. And you recently bought the Small Rig LED set, and you can confirm that it does the job very well. Very good. It's fantastic. That was the 3-light, I can't remember the name of it. I've always been a Small Rig fan. I love their square light, the RM75, and the new one, these 3 little cubes that come in a set. Very cost effective, and I thought that you'd like those, so that's good. Thank you, Ralph, for getting back on that one. Paul, would it be possible to polarize the AK diffuser? Nope, it wouldn't. You can't polarize the light. Well, you can polarize the light coming out of the diffuser if you had an enormous sheet of polarizer, but it would have to cover everything, and it would significantly cut down on what is already a significantly cut down light source. You're going to lose anywhere from 2 to 3 stops with a good sheet of polarizer over that. Even high transmission stuff will knock out a lot of the light. So really, if you're going to use polarized light, or if you're going to cross polarize, you need to not use a diffuser, or use a small diffuser before the polarizer. The problem is, though, when you polarize the light, it changes the quality of the light so much that diffusing it is really beside the point. Yeah, even that, I say that, but I do diffuse the light in my cross polarization device. I have a layer of diffuser underneath the first polarizer. So yeah, as long as the polarizer is the last thing the light sees before it hits your subject, and the second polarizer is the last thing the light sees before it sees your sensor, then you're okay. Get it? Okay. You can't diffuse polarized light because it will no longer be polarized. It'll be spread out. That's how the diffuser works. Got it. Okay. Nick says, looks like the diffuser is put almost on the ground over the subject from what I've seen elsewhere on YouTube. Yes, you get close with it. I mean, your subject's going to be right in here, so you're getting this lovely universal ball of light. It's kind of like in the studio when I use a gigantic scrim with a light with no attachment to the end of it, just a bare bulb flash, studio flash. When that goes off, you just get a wall of light. This is like that. It's like a studio on a stick, so to speak. Think it would need a bit of polarizing film. This is Nick responding to Paul over the face of the flash or cover over the diffuser. Yeah, it's the only way. Okay. And Russ, my bad, I thought it was the stuck filter again, not the rail. Not sure what that what Russ is saying there. Yeah, I'm not sure, so I'll have to go back and look at that. Happy Kumquat, what a fantastic name. Were you born with that name, Mr. Kumquat or Mrs. Kumquat? I do love it. Do you have any tips for very fine light sources to highlight small areas in macro photography? Yes and no. Okay, the very best one is from a German company. Their name is Optilux. They make a tunable, focusable light source that will put a dot the size of the end of a pen on a subject. It's a big telescope tube that runs off a massive LED light source. It's utterly gorgeous, and I will bring it into the studio the next time I do a live stream, and I'll show it to you. If you come back, I'll show you the thing. I have a review of the device that has not come out yet. I'm waiting to clear up some things with the company, but I will show the device to you. That's a great question. Now, a bigger question is, should you be using a needle-like dot of light on a subject in macro photography? Obviously, there are times that you would want to do that, hence the invention of this device, but you wouldn't use it often and you'd use it sparingly. But it's a great question, and I do love your name. Now, your question suggests that you had asked a question earlier, Mr. Happy. I will need to go back and find that. And you know what? I will do that and have to get back to you after I find it. Yeah, because we're about out of time. But I do apologize for that. You know what? I'm going to have to go back. I'm going to go back and read through all the comments, and if I don't get to any of them today, I'm going to stick around. You don't have to. If you've got to get back to work or go back to bed, that's fine. I'll continue answering questions until you guys leave. But Mitutoyo 2X best step length with 200mm tube lens, asked Dave Green. Well, if you're using the 2X at 2X on 200mm, then your step length will just be determined by your magnification and the sensor size. And what I recommend is, I'll tell you what it's going to be, is probably about 300 microns to be super conservative. Yeah, I mean less than that, maybe 200 microns. But I tell you, use the calculator. Go to Zerine, use the online calculator. That will give you the most conservative step length. You can use that, or you can use less than that, and you will not get focus banding. That's the best way to do it. Let me figure that out a different way. You know, at 1:1, if I don't have a calculator, if I'm shooting 1:1, I will almost always do a step length less than 500 microns, half a millimeter. And that's usually more than enough. Chop that in half to be extra safe. 250 is at 1. So let's say at an absolute maximum, 120 microns, and that's probably 10 times shorter of a step than you need. But do the calculations and find out for sure. All right. Maybe a snoot with a simple lens in front of it. That's Zeno suggesting to Happy Kumquat. It's not that easy. It's really not. And the lens in front of the snoot can do weird things with the light. You can end up getting weird light colors from doing that. So it's probably best to use one of the things designed for it, though. But Happy Kumquat is looking for really small light sources to illuminate single crystals about 2 to 8 millimeters. Yeah, Klaus just gave the right answer, and that is use the rectilinear fisheye lenses that Lester mentioned in the video. Great questions. You guys come up with the best stuff. All right. Come visit the Discord channel, Voice Hangout, after this YouTube macro talk. It's located on my Discord page. Mike, do you want me to come over there too? Is that a voice? I don't know. It's my Discord channel. I'd never heard of this before. Maybe they don't want me over there, but yeah, let me know, Mike. If you want me to come over, I'll come over and finish answering these questions. But yeah, Happy Kumquat, I'd like to talk to you about what you're trying to accomplish with those crystals. There may be other ways to do it that are less involved than focusing the light, but yeah, there are options. Okay, guys, I gotta go. Russ, low power RGB laser. That's a very good idea. Collimated light. Never thought about that. Okay, Mike says, yep, I'm invited to go to the Discord channel, so I'll come over there and say hi. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Come again on Tuesday. Come to the Pazoom meeting on Saturday if you would like. It's going to be a good one, and if those objectives come in, it's going to be a really good one. Okay, thank you all and have a great weekend. Stay safe and be well. Don't forget to watch Lester's video, and yeah, don't forget to turn in your pictures. 3 pictures you're allowed to turn in for the November-December combined wildcard macro photography competition. I'm up to now having 10 awesome prizes to give away. 10 prizes, including this. How would you like to own that? As long as you're not Joseph, who would just throw it away, anybody else would want to get that. Thank you all for coming, and don't forget, if you want the ultimate Christmas present for some macro friend of yours, give me a call and I'll arrange it. Okay, take care.